The WNBA's reputation is teetering on the edge after the ratings for Game 1 of the finals triggered a wave of disbelief and outrage. ESPN proudly trumpeted the matchup as the most watched in nearly 3 decades, boasting 1.9 million average viewers and a peak of 2.5 million. For a league that's long struggled for mainstream attention, this was supposed to be a victory lap, a sign that women's basketball had finally broken through to the cultural mainstream. But the moment the numbers hit social media, something didn't feel right. Fans were quick to point out that nobody seemed to be talking about the game. There were no trending hashtags, no viral highlights, no heated debates on sports radio. The silence didn't match the supposed surge in interest, and that silence quickly turned into suspicion. The so-called record ratings, many argued, weren't just unlikely, they were impossible. Independent Nielsen reports weren't available, and every article pointing to the 1.9 million figure traced its source back to ESPN itself. Normally, Nielsen, the gold standard in television metrics, releases official data to the public. This time, only ESPN had the numbers. That alone raised eyebrows, but the story grew darker once analysts noticed a subtle footnote: the introduction of Nielsen's new Big Data Plus panel system. This revamped method includes out-of-home viewership, people glancing at screens in gyms, airports, bars, or restaurants. Anyone within eyesight of a TV showing the game could now be counted as a viewer. In other words, ESPN's record wasn't necessarily proof of newfound popularity. It was proof of creative accounting. Under this new system, casual or even accidental glances inflated the audience total. A bar with 20 people inside might count as 20 viewers, even if only one person was paying attention. Multiply that across thousands of venues, and suddenly the WNBA's finals appeared to be a national sensation. The truth, as critics pointed out, was far less flattering. This was statistical sleight of hand, a modern marketing trick dressed up as progress. Fans began comparing the league's alleged success to actual cultural engagement. NASCAR races, college football matchups, and even regular season baseball games, all airing around the same time, had far more visible conversations online, despite pulling similar or smaller ratings. Sports talk hosts who would normally dissect big sporting events ignored the finals entirely. Even die-hard WNBA followers admitted they hadn't realized the championship had started. The contrast between the supposed record audience and the complete absence of buzz made one thing clear. The WNBA's growth story wasn't organic, it was orchestrated. That illusion of momentum became even more fragile when fans started asking the most uncomfortable question of all. If the finals were truly that popular, why did the league's biggest star, Caitlin Clark, not need any data gimmicks to command higher numbers? During her rookie season, Clark's playoff debut averaged 2.5 million viewers and peaked at over 3.4 million, figures achieved without the benefit of Nielsen's new counting system. Those numbers were genuine, driven by fans who tuned in because they cared, not because they walked past a bar TV. Clark's influence cast a long shadow over the entire controversy. Even though she wasn't playing in the finals, her name dominated every conversation. Fans knew the truth. Caitlin Clark was the reason people had started paying attention to the WNBA in the first place. She brought electricity to arenas, sold out tickets, and sparked national headlines. Her impact was so undeniable that without her, the finals felt hollow. The league's inflated success looked like an attempt to disguise that dependence, a desperate effort to prove the WNBA could thrive without the star who had single-handedly revived interest in the sport. The data told a damning story. For nearly a decade, WNBA finals ratings hovered below 500,000 viewers, occasionally dipping as low as 238,000. By 2023, the average had climbed to 729,000. Then Caitlin Clark entered the league, and everything changed. Her presence nearly tripled viewership. Her games became events. But when her team failed to make the finals, the league's sudden ratings miracle didn't make sense. It wasn't growth. It was maintenance of an illusion. ESPN's press release conveniently left her out, using her momentum to sell a league-wide success story she wasn't even part of. Critics called it manufactured success, and that phrase stuck. The more people looked into the data, the more it resembled corporate spin. ESPN, after all, isn't a neutral observer. It's a business partner of the WNBA, with a direct financial interest in the league's reputation. High ratings justify bigger ad deals, stronger sponsorships, and more favorable contracts. That relationship created a dangerous feedback loop. ESPN needed the WNBA to look successful, and the WNBA needed ESPN to tell that story. Together, they built a mirage, one that looked radiant from afar but crumbled under scrutiny. Even longtime supporters felt betrayed. Fans who had stuck with the league through its toughest years weren't asking for miracles. They wanted honesty. They'd celebrated genuine progress when Clark arrived because it felt real. But these inflated numbers, this phony narrative of historic growth, made everything feel hollow. Instead of celebrating transparency and momentum, the league found itself accused of deception. The backlash spread fast. Forums filled with ghost viewer jokes, memes about invisible fans, and data analysts dissecting ESPN's math like it was a crime scene. As pressure mounted, ESPN and the WNBA stayed quiet, a silence that spoke louder than any statement could. There were no follow-up reports, no clarifications, no independent verification. The supposed record that had been shouted from rooftops suddenly became a whisper. Fans saw the pattern. When the truth is inconvenient, corporate partners go dark. And that silence confirmed their suspicions. This wasn't a celebration of women's basketball. It was a PR maneuver gone wrong. What began as a headline about progress had turned into a cautionary tale about perception versus reality. The WNBA had wanted proof of its evolution, but ended up exposing its fragility. ESPN wanted to showcase a partnership success, but instead highlighted its bias. And at the center of it all stood Caitlin Clark, a reminder of what real growth looks like. Her audience wasn't a statistical illusion. It was a genuine cultural movement. She didn't need inflated numbers or corporate spin to capture hearts. Fans tuned in because they wanted to. The irony couldn't be sharper. In its attempt to show independence from Clark's stardom, the WNBA had proven just how dependent it really was. Without her, excitement faded, conversation died, and the league's credibility fractured. The record ratings may live forever in ESPN's press release, but fans will remember what they saw. Or rather, what they didn't see. A supposed historic night that nobody talked about, because in the end, authenticity always wins. You can't fake passion. You can't conjure excitement through metrics. And no amount of data manipulation can replace the electricity of a player who connects people to the game. The WNBA's future doesn't lie in inflated headlines. It lies in embracing transparency and celebrating the athletes who genuinely move the needle. Caitlin Clark proved what real engagement looks like. Now the question is whether the league can live up to the standard she set. So what do you think? Were the WNBA Finals ratings a sign of true progress or a carefully crafted illusion? Is ESPN protecting the league's image or manipulating the story to fit its own agenda? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's talk about what this means for the future of women's basketball. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping sports today.